Hey, Dr. Mike, we are live.
Hey, what's going on today?
Nothing. Well, one thing I want to remind everybody that tomorrow, 6:15, we're doing our monthly interview with John Winnower from Egoscue. So we'll be live.
Awesome.
We're taking questions. It's 6:15, 6:45, quick 30 minutes. Great interview, and it's a monthly thing we've been doing for quite some time.
Yep. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right, awesome. And Mike, we both you shared this. Article with me. I read it like 5 minutes before you shared it to me. I thought it was great. So this is a review of a Mark Sisson article from Mark's Daily Apple, and it basically goes over something or a question that people ask all the time. Is it better or not better or worse to work out fasted or fed? And I thought it was a fascinating. It was actually a little hard to break down because it's the article because it's a lot.
Yeah, again, here's one of the things I don't think this one has changed. And when I say that to you, know, when you first think of it, because you've been running most of your life, what do you think when you're thinking that, like, you go to the article, is it fasted or fed?
To me, it's always been fasted, but I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but that's
Yep.
what it's always. At least I've always felt better working out
Yes.
fasted. Let me say that way.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I thought about this when I read it, and it kind of goes back to when you were a kid and you were going to go in the ocean or go in the pool, and your mom would say, "Oh, you got to wait a half hour after you eat. You can't go back in the water." So, I mean, that's been passed down for generations and generations. But the Sisson is always great for a good article, and this is spot on as well. The first thing that he brought up is genetically humans have the ability to work out in a fasted state. It is absolutely positively in our genes.
Yep, it's kind of like you said, what your mother said, or even just us Neanderthals or developing humans didn't eat all the time, and they still had to hunt for the kill, and they still had to gather, and they still had to do these things, whether they had food or didn't have food. So we have to have the ability to work out or exert ourselves fasted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, what does he say about these fasted workouts?
You know, well, people are always worried whether working out fasted will be bad for muscle gain or good
Yep.
for muscle gain. And in a study, at least one study in 2009, it showed that fasted training augments the anabolic response. It basically allows the muscles to take up protein easier and just get bigger and stronger. So in this way, if you want to grow muscle, it appears that it's better to work out fasted.
Yep. And what did they say about some of them recent studies on a fasted workout?
The other thing that people are worried, and this is where you're leading, Mike. People are wondering, can you lose more fat or more weight if you work out fasted or fed? And it doesn't appear, at least from this review article, that whether you work out fasted or fed, you're not going to lose weight faster. So losing weight, comes with whether you eat and work out or whether you're working out fasted.
Well, what about in the article? What about a fasted workout for performance?
Uh, well, I guess there's two ways to look at this. For like an endurance or a running athlete, or for strength training. And I would agree with this just anecdotally. It appears that if you're running, if you run fasted or you train fasted, and then before race day you eat a little something, so you train fasted and you run fed, and we're not talking about a huge meal, but a banana, some honey, something like that. It seems to definitely help you perform on race day. uh, and I would concur with that. I've had that experience. And for strength training, uh, it, it seems to be more subjective. Um, Whether you want to, for performance, I guess to see what your max is, or in that realm. it doesn't really matter whether you lift fasted or fed. It's not a big of a difference if you're training for a race or doing like a 5K, 10K, a 1 mile run, something like that.
Yeah, any type of weight training I've ever done, I have not done it where I ate where I ate first. I just never felt very subjective, of course, but never felt good working out on even like taking a protein shake before anything like that. I've always looked to have some time between a meal and when I worked out. And then never mind, forget performance anytime playing sports as opposed to training. Never eat before I played. Never ever.
No, I'm sure you even see this with Emma when she would be at a tournament. They don't even eat that much during tournament day, and they'll play all day, and
Yeah,
they just it's hard. It's hard for them to eat, you know,
yeah, it
prior
is
to.
very much so.
There's a couple.
There's a couple other relevant things in here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's a couple like special circumstances, and it appears if you're type 2 diabetic, if you can do it, because it improves working out or exercising fast. It improves a lot of physiologic markers that are relevant to people with type 2 diabetes, and I can see that. To me, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and it also appears that men have better benefit from fasted workouts than women, much like in intermittent fasting too.
Yeah, it seems that the research seems to be the same, where like women, because of hormone, just differences in men, they may not always need to intermittent fast, or they might not get the benefit of intermittent fasting that men do for whatever reason. And it
Yeah,
seems to be the same. And I found that pretty interesting, but not surprised.
absolutely. And then what is the last thing that it says here?
Oh, if you are keto or if you're very, very low carb, um, high fat, uh, those types of athletes seem to do better in a fasted state as well. I think that's meaning like like a fat
Yeah.
adapted athlete.
Yep.
And that's about it. It was a little bit of a tough article to break down because there's so much, and a lot of it's, I don't want to say subjective, but a lot of it is person to person.
Yeah, it's very interesting in the last part of what you wrote. You'd rather train fasted, and 95% of the time before races, you may have a little honey or and a baby banana. But the last part of that is some coffee. And I have always had caffeine before I worked out in a fasted state.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of those pre-workout drinks,
Yep.
and coffee tends to work just as good as any of them.
Yep.
And there is a ton of research that caffeine is an athletic booster. And
Yes.
while I may not be a fan of giving coffee to younger kids, both Hayden and Kellen, even at their young ages, they get either it's called run gum or neural mints that have caffeine to boost their athletic performance, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, they're not that young anymore, pal.
I know.
They're
Well,
17,
Hayden isn't at no.
18,
Hayden's 18. Hayden's isn't old.
and 13. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Good. All right.
Well, we're open today 3 to 6, and don't forget tomorrow 6:15 to 6:45. Excited about that.
All right. See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.